Now we'll demonstrate processing a payroll. First, I want to look at the employee information for the employees I'm going to be using in this demonstration. The first employee is Robert Johnson. He is set for biweekly as a salaried individual, and he is set for direct bank deposit with his bank routing number and bank account number. I'm also going to look at Michelle Morrison, who is set as an hourly employee, also biweekly, and without direct deposit. For this demonstration, we also will check to make sure the parameters are set properly. So first we look in the application parameters, and it shows that our current month is October of 2019, which is correct. The other issue here is this restrict automatic processing is currently set to biweekly. That is to restrict the automatic processing to not pick up unwanted individuals. The other area of note is in the report parameters that the federal and state tax IDs are correct. And when we have direct deposit, that our bank routing number, account number, the label that's going to be printed at the bottom of the checks, and the rest of the NACHA origin code information is correct. Let's now process a payroll. We start out with the payroll period definition. In this case, we are paying for the payroll period ending October 26th for the biweekly employees. We are defining it as period 4, which has to do with at what point deductions are applied. Automatic processing indicates we are going to pick up salaried individuals, and the accrual days have to do with the general ledger distribution at the conclusion of the run. So we generate the earnings. And now if we go into payroll entry, we can see that Robert Johnson has been applied with his default salary wages, his deductions, his taxes, contributions, and accruals. We will now process the payroll for the other individual. You notice they were not salary. As a result, it did not automatically apply any hours or rates. After we've entered their earnings data and we click on save, the taxes, deductions, contributions, and accruals are automatically calculated and applied. If we need to make a correction, we can pull up the employee again, change the data in question. As soon as we save that, you'll notice that the taxes and all the deductions have automatically been recalculated. Now we can run the optional entry reports that function as audit reports and to highlight any errors that we may have encountered, such as a distribution code or a payroll code that does not exist. So here we have the earnings entry report, the earnings register, which is summarized by earnings codes, the distribution report, summarized in another fashion, the deduction report, which is itemized by types of deductions per employee, the tax report, which is also itemized by tax entities per individual, the contribution report, which will cover the matching contributions from the employer side, typically like Social Security taxes, Medicare taxes, the accrual report, which would tabulate for vacations and/or sick pay, the exception report, which is somewhat of a user-defined report to flag things that are out of range, such as somebody getting excessive overtime, typically to catch typos during data entry. The detail report is specific to each individual employee, which lists all of their wages and deductions that will end up being on the check. And this is like a final pass to look at if there's anything in question. The distribution report is showing what it will appear to be once the payroll is complete. This is not yet being applied, but merely a way of doing a test of your entry. And finally, we come to the pre-check report, which is a required report to be ran. Among other things, it checks that the license is intact. Your license based upon the number of active employees. So at this point, if the number of active employees exceeds the license, you will not be able to go further and print checks. No data is deleted, and this is your last chance prior to entering the check printing function. Now let's actually run the checks and generate the electronic transfer information for the direct deposit individual. So to begin with, the date of the check, what is the first check number of the physical check that we're going to print? What electronic method are we going to pay with? We do support PayPal, but we also have the Nacha file upload mechanism, which is normal with most banks. So after selecting that, we will get the initial check run. Remember that the first employee was direct deposit. So an actual print of the check to Michelle Morrison will take place. And this is where all the microcodes and related information comes into play. The second section is the pay stub that will get emailed to the employee. In this case, we indicated that Robert Johnson is direct deposit and needs to get emailed a facsimile check that shows his information. From the employer side, we get a complete duplicate run for storing. And we've also created the Nacha file and downloaded it to the desktop for upload through whatever mechanism the bank has indicated. Here we're looking at the data that is within the Nacha file, which you would then use the bank's application to upload to their web server via their interface screens. To complete the payroll, we will then run the check register. Which will list the checks, gross amount, net amount, and will conclude with making the general ledger postings into the daily summary of postings for the information we have already furnished. In the periodic processing screen, there are various recaps of those same reports that we had printed on the regular payroll basis that are summarized by quarter or year. In addition, employer returns such as the 941 and other federal returns are also printable. At some point, the federal government has talked about being able to e-file these in a manner similar to W-2s, but that hasn't yet occurred. When it does, it will be added to the system. So from that, we will run this report. And we have the 9041 prepared for the first quarter. And any apparent or applicable vouchers are also printed. This is updated every year. In addition to that are the W-2 forms, which are essentially printed to give to the employee and for the employer's filing in their own records. So here's a copy of the first page of the W-2s. Remember, these are not actually fileable as such. They have to be on the original form. Along with the W-3 summarization page. And for the actual filing, the W-2 wage information is uploaded using the free AccuWage application that's furnished by Social Security Administration. And following the directions there, then you would file the W-2s and the process is complete.